The transport ship shuddered as it descended through the thin atmosphere of Epsilon 7. Marcus Chen pressed his forehead against the cold window, watching the barren, gray landscape rush up to meet them. The moon looked dead, lifeless rock stretching in every direction, broken only by the massive dome that squatted on the surface like a glass bubble ready to pop. He'd been on worse assignments. At least that's what he told himself. The other passengers, mostly alien workers heading home after contract rotations, gave him a wide berth. They always did. Humans still made the other species nervous even after 20 years in the Confederation. Something about the way human eyes looked. Too focused, too intense. Like predators who'd learned to smile. Marcus didn't smile much anymore. The ship docked with a metallic groan. He grabbed his single duffel bag and shuffled out with the others. The dome's interior was brighter than he'd expected. Artificial sunlight panels made everything look almost cheerful. Almost. The air tasted recycled, and he could hear the constant hum of life support systems working overtime. A tall Vexali stood waiting at the arrival gate. She held a datapad, and her blue-gray skin had that polished look that screamed administrator. Her 4 eyes scanned the crowd until they locked onto Marcus. Marcus Chen? Her voice came through a translator device on her collar. That's me. Coordinator Jaitan. You're late. Ship was delayed. Marcus shifted his bag. Not my fault. Nothing ever is with your species. She turned sharply, her robes swishing. Follow me. Your quarters are in Section 7. Work begins tomorrow at 0600 station time. They walked through corridors filled with workers from a dozen different species. Thermians with their thick arms and patient faces. Quicksilver runners darting between slower pedestrians. Even a few other humans, though they looked away when Marcus made eye contact. Everyone here was running from something or working off debt just like him. You have maintenance experience? Shaitan asked without looking back. I can fix things. Marcus kept his answers short. The less people knew about his military background, the better. Good. The dome requires constant repair. This moon has seismic activity, minor but persistent. She stopped at a door marked 7A23. Your quarters. Report to Maintenance Bay 4 tomorrow. Don't be late again. She left before he could respond. The room was small. A bed, a desk, a tiny bathroom. Marcus had lived in worse. He dropped his bag and sat on the bed, feeling the spring's protest under his weight. Through the narrow window, he could see out across the dome to the lunar surface beyond. Stars glittered in the black sky, and the massive gas giant that Epsilon 7 orbited hung overhead like a painted ceiling. He thought about sleeping but knew the dreams would come. They always did. Instead, he unpacked his few belongings and tried to pretend this place might become home. The next morning, Marcus found Maintenance Bay 4 without much trouble. A dozen workers were already there, mostly Thrumians with their natural strength. The foreman was human, a thick-shouldered woman named Rita who looked like she'd been working maintenance her whole life. Chen? She didn't wait for confirmation. You're with me today. We've got a pressure seal in Section 4 that needs checking. Routine inspection, routine. Marcus liked routine. Routine didn't shoot at you. They took a work cart through the dome's service tunnels. Rita explained the basics. Where the critical systems were, what to watch for, how to report problems. Marcus listened and made mental notes. Old habits from military briefings. Section 4 was in the older part of the dome. The walls here looked different, more worn. Marcus could see patch jobs layered on top of patch jobs, decades of quick fixes holding everything together. She's not pretty, but she's home, Rita said, patting a support beam. Been here 8 years myself. The dome's got personality once you get to know her. They reached the pressure seal, a massive door that separated inhabited sections from unused storage areas. Rita pulled out her scanner and started running diagnostics. Marcus walked the perimeter, checking the physical integrity like he'd checked bunker walls during the war. That's when he saw them. Marks on the metal. Not stress fractures. Not normal wear and tear. They looked like gouges. Like something with claws had scraped along the inside of the wall, trying to get out. Rita. Marcus knelt down, running his fingers along the marks. When was the last inspection here? 2 weeks ago. Why, these marks. They look fresh. Rita came over, frowning. She scanned them with her equipment. That's weird. The metal's definitely damaged, but the scanner says there's no corresponding external impact. It's like the lights flickered, both of them froze. Then the entire section shuddered. A deep grinding sound echoed through the walls. and somewhere in the distance alarms started blaring. "That's not seismic," Marcus said, his combat instincts flaring to life. "That's structural failure." Rita was already on her communicator. "Maintenance Bay 4 to control. We have a situation in Section 4. Possible breach." The wall exploded, not outward, inward. Metal screamed as a massive section of the corridor wall tore free from its mountings and crashed into the opposite side. Emergency bulkheads started dropping. Rita grabbed Marcus's arm and they ran, racing the falling doors. They made it through with seconds to spare. Behind them, the bulkhead slammed shut, sealing off Section 4. Marcus stood there, breathing hard, staring at the closed door. Through the small window, he could see the damage. An entire section of corridor had collapsed inward, as if something had pulled it from the other side. From inside the walls, Rita was shouting into her communicator. Other maintenance workers were running toward them, but Marcus couldn't stop staring at those claw marks he'd seen earlier. Something was in the dome. Something that wanted out. The conference room was packed with worried faces. Marcus stood in the back, still in his work clothes, while Coordinator Jaitan addressed the crowd. "Engineers, administrators, section chiefs, everyone who kept the dome running was here. The damage to Section 4 is contained," Jaitan announced. However, initial assessments indicate this was not a natural occurrence. "The failure pattern is unusual. That was one word for it." Marcus had spent the last 3 days working triple shifts, helping shore up damaged areas and running diagnostics. Every night he found more of those claw marks, always on the inside of walls, always pointing deeper into the dome's infrastructure. Nobody else seemed to notice. Or maybe they didn't want to. A Vexali engineer stood up. "Coordinator, we should evacuate." "If the structural integrity is compromised." "Evacuation ships are 14 days out," Jaitan interrupted. "We have 3,000 colonists. We don't have enough emergency craft for everyone. We stay and we repair." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Fear had a smell Marcus had learned during the war. It smelled like this room. "I need volunteers for extended repair duty," Jaitan continued. "Extra rations and compensation for those who—" "I'll do it." Marcus surprised himself by speaking up. Everyone turned to look at him. "I'll work the extended shifts." Jaitan's 4 eyes studied him. "You've already been working excessive hours, Chen." "I don't sleep much anyway." It wasn't a joke, but a few people laughed nervously. "I'll take the shifts." Over the next week, more sections failed. Section 7, Section 9. Each time the damage pattern was the same. Walls collapsing inward, metal twisted as if pulled by incredible force. The alien engineers ran their scans and found nothing that made sense. No seismic activity. No pressure changes. No logical explanation. But Marcus was starting to see a pattern. He'd spent his evenings in the dome's archive, pulling up old records. Most workers were too busy or too scared to bother with research. But military training had taught him that intelligence gathering could save lives. So he dug and found something interesting. Epsilon 7 hadn't always been a mining colony. 40 years ago, a human company called Meridian Deep Resource had operated here. They'd been drilling into the moon's core looking for rare minerals. Then suddenly they'd packed up and left. Company dissolved. Records sealed. The Confederation took over the facilities a decade later and turned them into a civilian colony. But in the old records, Marcus found references to Sub-Level 9, an area marked as sealed and restricted. No current map showed it. It was as if someone had deliberately erased it from the official documentation. Marcus plotted all the structural failures on a map. They formed a pattern, a spiral converging on the location where Sub-Level 9 should be. He found Rita in Maintenance Bay 4 checking equipment. She looked exhausted. They all did. "Rita, you've been here 8 years. You ever hear about Sub-Level 9? She frowned. "Sub-level? We only have 8 levels. Storage, maintenance, and habitation rings. Yeah, that's what the current maps say. But the original construction blueprints show 9. He pulled up his datapad showing her the old schematics. "Right here. Below the main storage level. Sealed off." Rita studied the images. "Why would they seal off an entire sub-level?" "That's what I want to find out. The structural failures are all pointing toward this area." "Marcus," Rita looked nervous. "If it's sealed for a reason. And if what's sealed down there is trying to get out, we need to know about it." He met her eyes. I'm going down there tonight. I just wanted someone to know in case I don't come back. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed. You're insane, you know that? Yeah, I've been told. Wait here. She disappeared into the equipment room and came back with a heavy-duty cutting torch and a portable scanner. If you're going to do something stupid, at least do it properly. I'm coming with you. They went at Oro 200 station time when most of the dome was asleep. Marcus had recruited one more person, a young Thrumian named Cole who worked in structural engineering. Cole had the strength they'd need if they had to move debris, and he was curious enough to not ask too many questions. The lowest storage level was dark and cold. Emergency lights cast long shadows. They made their way to the coordinates Marcus had calculated, following the old blueprints. They found the entrance behind a stack of supply crates that looked like they hadn't been moved in decades. The door was heavy metal welded shut with warning signs in a dozen languages. Danger. Authorized personnel only. Biological hazard. Keep sealed. Biological hazard? Call's voice was nervous. Marcus, maybe Rita was right. Maybe we should report this. To who? Jitan. She'll just seal it tighter and hope the problem goes away. Marcus fired up the cutting torch. We need to know what's down there. It took an hour to cut through the welds. When the door finally swung open, stale air rushed out. Marcus shone his light down a metal staircase that descended into darkness. They went down. The sublevel was huge. A network of corridors and chambers all abandoned. Equipment covered in dust. Workstations left as if people had simply walked away mid-shift. And on the walls more of those claw marks. Hundreds of them, thousands, all pointing in the same direction. What is this place? Rita whispered. Marcus found a still-functioning terminal and powered it up. The screen flickered to life, showing old files. Research logs. He started reading, his blood went cold. They found something, he said quietly. The Meridian Company? They were drilling into the moon's core and found something artificial. Something old. They thought it was a precursor artifact. Precursors? Call moved closer. The ancient civilization? They're just myths. These people didn't think so. Marcus scrolled through more files. They found a chamber deep in the moon. Something inside it. Alive but dormant. They tried to study it, then he found a video log and played it. The image was grainy. A human scientist, eyes wide with fear, speaking directly to the camera. Containment failure is imminent. The entity is attempting to breach. We've tried everything. It's not responding to communication. It's hungry. God help us, it's so hungry. We're evacuating, sealing the sublevel. If anyone finds this, do not attempt to. The video cut to static. They stood in silence. Then from somewhere deep in the sublevel, they heard it. A sound like metal tearing, like something massive shifting in the darkness, and underneath it, a whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. So, hungry. The lights went out. In the darkness, Marcus heard Rita and Cole breathing hard. His own heart was pounding, but his military training kicked in. He'd faced worse than darkness, he hoped. Back to the door, he said quietly. Slowly. Don't run. They made their way back through the pitch-black corridors, guided only by their helmet lights. The whispering grew louder. The temperature dropped. Marcus's breath came out in clouds. They reached the stairs and climbed. Behind them, that tearing sound grew louder, closer. They made it through the door and Marcus slammed it shut. Through the small window, he saw shadows moving in the darkness below. Shadows that had no source. We need to tell Jitan, Rita said, her voice shaking. Now Marcus nodded. Whatever was down there, it was waking up, and it was very, very hungry. Coordinator Jitan stared at Marcus like he'd grown a second head. They were in her office, along with Rita, Cole, and 3 other senior staff members. The video log from Sublevel 9 played on the wall screen for the 3rd time. This is impossible, Jitan said flatly. Precursor artifacts are theoretical. Ancient myths used to explain. The dome shuddered. Coffee cups rattled on the desk. Somewhere in the distance, alarms started wailing again. That's Section 3, one of the engineers said, checking her datapad. Another structural failure. Same pattern as before. Jitan's face went rigid. All 4 of her eyes focused on Marcus. What exactly did you disturb down there, human? We didn't disturb anything. We just looked. Marcus kept his voice level. But I think opening that door might have given it a clearer path. Whatever's down there, it's trying to reach something, and it's getting stronger. Another shudder, more violent this time. The lights flickered. A Vexali scientist named Dr. Selmara spoke up. If this entity exists and is attempting to breach containment, we need to understand what it wants. Running scans might— Scans are useless, Rita interrupted. We've been scanning the damaged sites for weeks. Nothing shows up. Whatever this thing is, our equipment can't detect it properly. Then what do you suggest? Jaitun's voice was sharp with stress. We have limited time before the evacuation ships arrive. We cannot simply abandon the dome to whatever this is. Marcus had been thinking about this for hours. I need to go back down there. Absolutely not. Listen to me. Marcus stepped forward. During the war, I worked with alien psychology profiles. Every species we encountered had tells, patterns. This thing is trying to communicate through the structural damage. It's making a path. Following the power conduits, Cole's eyes widened. The power conduits all lead to the main reactor, Marcus finished. It's not trying to escape. It's trying to reach the power core. Silence fell over the room. Then Dr. Selmara spoke, her voice thoughtful. Energy. The video log mentioned it was hungry. If it's been dormant for decades, possibly longer, it would need massive amounts of energy to fully awaken. So we cut the power, Jaitan said. Starve it, and kill everyone in the dome when life support fails, Rita countered. We need the reactor running. Or— Marcus hesitated, knowing how insane this would sound. We give it what it wants. Everyone stared at him. You want to feed an unknown entity our power supply? Jaitan's voice could have frozen nitrogen. I want to wake it up properly. Controlled. Right now it's tearing through the dome because it's desperate and confused. Like a sleepwalker. But if we give it energy directly, we might be able to communicate with it. Understand what it is. That is the most reckless, dangerous, typically human idea I've ever heard. Jaitan stood up, her robes swirling. The answer is no. I'm calling for an orbital strike. We'll evacuate what we can and destroy this facility before— The power went out. Emergency lights kicked in, bathing everything in red. The hum of the life support systems dropped in pitch, struggling. Main reactor is offline, someone said in the darkness. Backup systems engaging, but they won't last more than 6 hours. It's in the power systems, Marcus said quietly. It's already there, then they felt it. A pressure in the air, in their minds, like someone was watching them from just behind their shoulder. The temperature dropped until their breath misted. The other aliens in the room started making sounds of distress. Dr. Selmara collapsed to her knees, her breathing rapid. Jaitan gripped her desk, all 4 eyes wide with something Marcus recognized, primal terror. But Marcus felt nothing. Or rather, he felt the presence, but it didn't frighten him. He'd spent too many nights with worse things in his head. His own memories were scarier than any alien entity. You all need to leave, he said calmly. Get out of this section now. I'm not leaving you, Rita started. Rita, look at yourself. Marcus pointed to her shaking hands. Whatever this thing is doing, it's affecting all of you. But not me. I don't know why, but I can handle this. Cole was backing toward the door, his face pale. He's right. I can't breathe properly. It's in my head. Dr. Selmara pulled herself up, fighting against the psychic pressure. Marcus, if you can resist it, you might be our only chance, but you'll need help. I'll stay as long as I can. Document what happens, Jaitan wanted to argue. Marcus could see it in her face. But another wave of terror washed over the room and she stumbled. Do what you must, she managed. But if you fail, I'm authorizing the strike. This moon will not become a threat to the sector. They evacuated everyone they could from the central sections. Marcus gathered equipment, power cables, portable generators, anything that could help him create a controlled energy feed. Dr. Selmara stayed with him, though she had to take breaks every few minutes when the psychic pressure became too intense. Why aren't you affected? She asked during one of her breaks. All species should be vulnerable to this level of psychic intrusion. Marcus didn't answer directly. I saw a lot during the war. Lost a lot. Maybe I just don't have anything left for it to scare. That wasn't entirely true. The nightmares still came, but they were his nightmares. He'd learned to live with them. This entity's fear was nothing compared to the guilt of being the only survivor when his unit died. They made their way down to sub-level 9. The corridors were freezing now, ice forming on the walls. The shadows moved independently of their lights, writhing and twisting. In the deepest chamber, They found it. The containment vessel was massive, made of some crystalline material that pulsed with faint light. Cracks ran through it like spiderwebs, and inside, barely visible, something moved. It was shadow given form, darkness that breathed. No fixed shape, but Marcus got an impression of vastness, of age beyond counting, of hunger so deep it had become a physical thing. The whispers were clearer here. Hungry. So long. Need. Awaken. It's magnificent, Dr. Selmara breathed, her scientific curiosity temporarily overcoming her fear. And terrible. The energy readings are impossible. This is what my people would call a voidborn, a species that existed before matter took its current form. Marcus approached the containment vessel. The shadows inside shifted, focusing on him. You. Not afraid? Why? The voice was in his head, but not invasive. Curious. I've been afraid before, Marcus said aloud. Real fear. The kind that comes from losing everything. You're just different. Different. Yes. So long alone, forgot myself. I want to help you wake up properly, but I need to know you won't hurt anyone. The shadow paused. Then not hurt, just need energy. To remember what I am. Marcus looked at Dr. Selmara. Can we rig the portable generators to feed directly into the containment vessel? Theoretically, but if it overloads, we're out of options. Marcus started unpacking equipment. Either this works or Jaitan destroys the moon. Your choice, help me or run. Dr. Selmara hesitated only a moment. Then she started setting up the power cables. They worked for 2 hours, running lines from the backup generators down to the containment chamber. The entity watched through the crystal, its presence in Marcus's mind growing stronger but not threatening. It was almost hopeful. Ready, Dr. Selmara finally said. But Marcus, if this goes wrong, it won't. He didn't know how he knew, but he did. This thing wasn't evil. It was just lost, alone, forgotten, like him. He activated the power feed. Energy poured into the containment vessel. The crystal shattered with a sound like stars breaking. The shadow erupted outward, filling the chamber, and for a moment Marcus thought he'd made a terrible mistake. Then the shadow coalesced into something coherent. Still darkness, but purposeful, aware. And when it spoke, its voice was clear. Thank you. Now, we must speak. There is something you need to know about this moon. The Voidborn's presence filled the chamber like smoke, but now it had purpose. Shape. Marcus could almost see features in the darkness, something like eyes, or perhaps just the memory of eyes from when it had been something else. This moon is not natural, the Voidborn said, its voice resonating in Marcus's skull. It is a tomb, a vault, built millions of years ago to contain weapons from the Precursor War. Dr. Selmara's scanner fell from her hands. The Precursor War is a myth, a story used to explain the ruins we find scattered across the galaxy. No myth. The shadow rippled. I was there. I fought. I survived. And when the war ended, when my people realized what horrors we had created, we built places like this, to lock away the weapons that could end galaxies. Marcus felt cold. What kind of weapons? The kind that unmake reality, that turn matter back into chaos. Your drilling, your mining, your settlements on the surface, you've destabilized the deeper vault levels. If the containment fails completely, what's buried below will awaken. How deep? Marcus asked. 15 kilometers down, at the moon's core. The Voidborn shifted, growing more substantial. I was placed here as a guardian, to watch, to warn. But time is merciless even to beings like me. I slept too deeply, forgot my purpose, and now I wake to find you breaking open the very thing I was meant to protect. Dr. Selmara was frantically working her communicator. Coordinator Jaitan needs to know this immediately. We need to evacuate everyone. It's too late for evacuation. The Voidborn's voice was heavy with ancient sorrow. The orbital strike your coordinator has called for will crack the vault completely. The weapons will be free. Marcus felt his stomach drop. How long until the strike? Checking. Dr. Selmara's face went pale. 16 hours. The bombardment fleet is already in position above us. Can we stop them? Jaitan would need to call them off. But she won't, not without proof. And the psychic pressure from the Voidborn. Dr. Selmara gestured helplessly. Most species can't think clearly in its presence. Marcus's mind raced. 16 hours. Not much time. but he'd worked with less during the war. Okay, we need a plan. Can the vault be resealed? The Voidborn considered this. Perhaps, but it would require massive amounts of energy, more than your reactor can provide. And the structural damage your dome has caused would need to be repaired simultaneously. The vault must be stabilized from above while being reinforced from below. That's impossible, Dr. Selmara said. We don't have the equipment or the time. We have human stubbornness, Marcus said. And we have you. He looked at the shadow. You're energy-based, right? You can channel power. If we route the dome's entire energy grid through you, could you reinforce the vault? Yes, but the process would destroy your dome's infrastructure. Everyone would need to evacuate, and someone would need to remain to guide the energy flow, to serve as a conduit between your technology and my nature. I'll do it. Marcus, no, Dr. Selmara started. I'm the only one who can. I'm the only one who doesn't get overwhelmed by its presence. Marcus was already planning it out in his head. We need to convince Jaitan. We need every engineer we have working to reroute the power systems, and we need to do it all before that fleet fires. They made their way back up to the command center. The Voidborn followed, a moving shadow that made the lights flicker and die wherever it passed. Workers screamed and ran. Marcus didn't blame them. The thing looked like every nightmare ever dreamed. Jaitan was in the command center coordinating the final evacuation. When Marcus and the Voidborn entered, she froze. Her four eyes went wide and she reached for her communicator. Wait! Marcus held up his hands. Coordinator, please listen. We have a way to save the dome and seal the vault, but you need to abort the strike. That thing... Jaitan couldn't seem to form words properly. The psychic pressure was affecting her badly. Marcus stepped between her and the Voidborn, blocking her line of sight. Focus on me, just me. Coordinator, that bombardment will crack this moon open and release weapons that will destroy everything in this sector. We need to seal the vault, not blow it up. How? How do you know this? Because it told me. Because unlike everyone else, I can actually talk to it without my brain shutting down in fear. Marcus pulled up the data pad with the vault schematics. Look, the deep drilling sites line up with the ancient structure. We've been destabilizing it for years. Dr. Selmara stepped forward, her voice shaking but professional. Coordinator, I've verified the energy readings. The structure below us is artificial and ancient. The Voidborn's claims are consistent with precursor technology. We need to take this seriously. Jaitan struggled visibly with the decision. Marcus could see her fighting through the fear, trying to think logically. It was one of the things he respected about the Vexali. They valued reason even when instinct screamed otherwise. What is your plan? She finally managed. Marcus laid it out. Reroute every power system in the dome through the Voidborn. Use it as a living conduit to channel massive amounts of energy into the vault structure, reinforcing and resealing it. Evacuate everyone except the minimum crew needed to manage the power flow. It will sacrifice the dome, he finished, but it will save the sector. And who will stay behind to manage this power flow? I will. The human stays, the Voidborn added, its voice echoing through the room.
He alone can endure.
Your species, Coordinator, are too vulnerable to my presence. But this human, his mind is already scarred, already broken in ways that make him strong. Marcus flinched at that assessment, but it was true. The war had broken him, but maybe that brokenness had a purpose. Jaitan looked at Marcus for a long moment. Then she activated her communicator. This is Coordinator Jaitan to Fleet Command. I am requesting a hold on the bombardment strike. New information has come to light. The next 12 hours were chaos. Every engineer, every technician, every person who could hold a wrench was put to work rerouting the power grid. Marcus coordinated with Rita and Cole, directing teams through the maze of conduits and systems. The Voidborn helped where it could, using its energy manipulation to bypass damaged sections and create new pathways. It was learning about modern technology, remembering skills from millions of years ago, and slowly, grudgingly, the other workers grew less afraid of it. Fear was hard to maintain when you were working side by side with someone, even if that someone was a living shadow. You don't have to do this, Rita said to Marcus during a brief break. They were in Maintenance Bay 4 checking the final connections. There has to be another way. There isn't, and honestly, Marcus smiled tiredly. This is the first time since the war that I've felt like my survival actually meant something. Everyone else died and I lived. Maybe this is why. Rita hugged him hard. You're a good man, Marcus Chen. Don't let anyone tell you different. Cole approached carrying the last of the power cables. Everything is ready. The evacuation ships are loading now. We have 4 hours until everyone is clear. Marcus nodded. Then let's finish this. They worked through the final connections. The dome's entire power infrastructure now led to one point, the chamber where the Voidborn waited. From there, the energy would be channeled down to the ancient vault at the moon's core. Dr. Selmara was the last to leave. She clasped Marcus's hand in the Vexali gesture of respect. You're saving countless lives today. The Confederation will remember this. I don't need them to remember. I just need it to work. Finally, everyone was gone except Marcus and the Voidborn. The dome was silent except for the hum of power systems building toward critical levels. Are you ready, human? The Voidborn asked. Marcus stood in the center of the chamber, surrounded by power cables and energy conduits. Ready as I'll ever be. Let's save a galaxy. The Voidborn flowed around him, through him, becoming one with his nervous system. Marcus felt energy building, a pressure that should have killed him but somehow didn't. His scars saved him. His trauma. His broken mind that had learned to endure impossible pain. The energy exploded outward, down through the moon's crust, into the ancient vault below. Marcus screamed, but he held on. He held on because that's what humans do. They endure. And in that moment, channeling the power of a precursor guardian through his shattered soul, Marcus Chen finally understood why he'd survived the war. Not by chance. By purpose, this purpose. The pain was beyond anything Marcus had experienced. Energy flowed through him like lightning through a wire, burning and freezing at the same time. His body was the conduit, his mind the filter, his will the only thing keeping the massive power flow controlled and directed. Down into the moon's depths, the energy poured. Through the Voidborn, through Marcus into the ancient structures that had slept for millions of years. He could feel the vault awakening to the touch of its guardian, could feel the seals reforming, the containment field strengthening. But he could also feel what was inside the vault, weapons that could unwrite existence. Technologies that bent reality like paper, things that should never be allowed to exist yet did. The precursors had created horrors in their desperation to win a war that no one even remembered anymore. Hold on, human. The Voidborn's voice was distant, filtered through the storm of power. Just a little longer. The seals are almost complete, Marcus couldn't respond. His jaw was clenched so tight he thought his teeth would shatter. Every nerve in his body was on fire. But he held on like he'd held position during the war when the enemy surrounded them, held on like he'd held his dying squadmates, promising them it would be okay even when he knew it wouldn't be. Humans were good at lying to themselves, at pushing past what should be possible. It was both their greatest strength and their deepest flaw. The energy reached a crescendo. Marcus felt something deep in the moon's core click into place, massive locks older than human civilization sealing shut. The vault was secured, the weapons contained, the power flow cut off. Marcus collapsed. The Voidborn caught him, its shadowy form surprisingly gentle. He lay there gasping, feeling like every cell in his body had been individually burned and frozen. It is done, the Voidborn said softly. The vault is sealed. The weapons sleep once more. Good, Marcus managed to whisper. That's good. You should be dead. The energy that flowed through you would have destroyed any other being I've ever encountered. But you endured. Your species is remarkable, fragile yet unbreakable in ways that matter most. Marcus tried to laugh, but it came out as a cough. We're too stubborn to know when to quit. No, you're stubborn enough to choose hope even in darkness. That is a rare gift in this universe. The Voidborn helped Marcus to his feet. Come, the evacuation ships are waiting. And I must return to my long sleep. They made their way through the ruined dome. The power surge had destroyed most of the infrastructure. Lights hung dead. Doors wouldn't open. The beautiful glass structure that had housed 3,000 people was now a hollow shell. But outside, on the lunar surface, the evacuation ships waited. Marcus could see them through the cracked dome panels, their lights bright against the black sky. Coordinator Zhaitan met them at the airlock. She looked exhausted, but there was something new in her 4 eyes. Respect. The vault is sealed? She asked. Sealed tight, Marcus confirmed. This moon is safe now. Well, safe from what's inside it anyway. Fleet Command is demanding a full report. They want to know what happened here. Tell them the truth. that the precursors left us a gift and a warning, and that a broken human veteran was crazy enough to accept both. Shaitan's expression softened slightly. You're not broken, Marcus Chen, you're tempered. Like steel that's been through fire. Stronger for the experience, not weaker. The Voidborn spoke for the last time. Coordinator, pass this message to your Confederation. This vault is not the only one. Across the galaxy, there are dozens of sealed sites like this, places where the precursors locked away their mistakes. Some have guardians like me, others do not. Tell your leaders to stop digging blindly into ancient places. Not all secrets should be uncovered. I will convey your warning, Shaitan promised. The shadow began to dissipate, flowing back down through the damaged dome toward the depths. Marcus Chen, you have my gratitude. And my hope. We chose humans to find us for a reason. You alone remember how to hope in the darkness. Guard that gift. The galaxy will need it. Then it was gone, returning to its eternal watch over the weapons that could destroy galaxies. Marcus boarded the evacuation ship with the others. As they lifted off from Epsilon 7, he looked back at the scarred dome. It had been his home for such a short time, but it felt like a lifetime. Rita sat down next to him. So what happens now? Now, I guess I go back to being a nobody, another veteran working off his time. Actually, Dr. Selmara appeared holding a data pad. The Confederation has been monitoring everything. They've pardoned your sentence completely, and they're offering you a position in the Xenoarchaeology Corps, specifically the division that deals with precursor sites. Marcus stared at her. They want me to go looking for more of these vaults? They want someone who can communicate with what they find. Someone who won't panic when faced with the impossible. Someone who knows how to hope in the darkness, as the Voidborn said. Dr. Selmara smiled. You're uniquely qualified, Marcus. He thought about it. Thought about spending his life exploring ancient ruins and warning people away from dangers they couldn't understand. It sounded terrifying. It sounded lonely. It sounded perfect. I'll do it, he said, on one condition. Rita and Cole come with me. I'll need a good engineer and a structural specialist. Rita grinned. Hell yes. I'm not missing this. Cole nodded enthusiastically. Working with a human who defeated a Voidborn? My family will never believe it. As the transport ship accelerated away from Epsilon 7, Marcus felt something he hadn't felt in years. Not happiness exactly, not peace, but purpose. The war had taken everything from him, his unit, his confidence, his peace of mind. But maybe, just maybe, it had left him with something valuable too. The ability to endure, to push through impossible pain and come out the other side still standing, to hope when hope should be dead. He thought about his lost squad mates, about the guilt he'd carried for surviving when they hadn't. For the first time, that guilt felt lighter. He'd survived for a reason, not by chance or luck, but because the universe needed someone stubborn enough to face its darkest secrets and not look away. Someone broken enough to be strong. Hey, Marcus, Rita said, breaking his thoughts. What was it like? Channeling all that power, he considered the question. Like being ripped apart and put back together at the same time. Like dying and being born in the same moment, like... He paused, searching for the right words. Like every bad thing that ever happened to me suddenly made sense. Like all the pain had a purpose. That's very philosophical for a maintenance worker, Dr. Selmara observed. Ex-maintenance worker. Apparently I'm an xenoarchaeologist now. Marcus smiled slightly. Who knew my greatest qualification would be having a head too damaged to be afraid of ancient horrors? Coordinator Zhaitan, who'd been quietly observing from across the cabin, finally spoke. The Confederation owes you a debt, Marcus Chen. You saved not just this colony, but potentially the entire sector. I will personally ensure your service is recognized. I don't need recognition, Marcus said. I just need to know it mattered. That all of it. The war, the trauma, the nightmares. That it served some purpose beyond just suffering. It did. The Voidborn's voice whispered one last time in his mind, so faint he almost missed it. You taught an ancient guardian to hope again. You showed that even broken things can be beautiful. Guard that truth, Marcus Chen. The galaxy grows darker every day. It needs people like you to remember the light. The voice faded completely. Marcus was alone in his head again. But he didn't feel lonely. Not anymore. He looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there were more vaults, more guardians, more ancient warnings waiting to be heard. And now he had a team, a purpose, a reason to keep going. The war had broken him. But like Jayton said, he wasn't broken. He was tempered, forged into something stronger through fire and pain and loss. And in a universe full of ancient horrors and forgotten weapons, sometimes the galaxy needed someone who'd already been through hell and learned to walk out the other side. Sometimes it needed a human. So where do we go first? Call asked excitedly. Dr. Selmara pulled up a star map on her datapad. There's a precursor ruin in the Vega system, unexplored. The initial survey team reported strange energy readings before they evacuated. It matches the profile of another sealed vault. Sounds perfect, Marcus said. Let's go teach the galaxy what humans are good at. What's that? Rita asked. Marcus smiled. A real smile this time, not the tired grimace he'd worn for years. Finding things that should stay lost, poking them with sticks, and somehow surviving the experience. It's what we do best. The transport ship jumped to faster than light speed, leaving Epsilon 7 behind. The scarred moon would remain there, silent and deadly, guarding its ancient secrets under the watchful presence of a void-born that had learned to hope again. And somewhere in the vastness of space, Marcus Chen, broken veteran, unlikely hero, and humanity's strangest diplomat, headed toward his next impossible mission. The darkness held no fear for him anymore. He'd learned to carry his own light.